Hello and welcome back to the Mind and Money podcast. I'm Sherry, a financial coach.
And I'm Val, a financial planner. And today we are celebrating episode 52, which is a really big deal for two ADHD entrepreneurs that started this not really knowing exactly where it was going, but here we are.
52 weeks, 52 podcasts every Thursday. I think since like the third episode, those first two episodes were a little precarious when they were getting published, but we found our groove.
We have found our groove. And today what we want to talk about is how we've stayed consistent, different tips and tricks we've had. And next week we have an episode with Erica Lem and coach, and what she shares makes a lot of sense as to how we've got here. One of them is that it's been interest. Our nervous system has been interest focused. So these podcast episodes have been topics of interest for us, either in our current lives, in our past, in our clients' world. So we're showing up and we get to talk about things that we love.
And also having a co-host creates accountability because we schedule time. So before we leave our recording for today, we will have our date scheduled for next time. And being able to do it in person, I think really has a positive impact because it's something that I know I look forward to because, I kind of like to hang with you.
Yeah, I completely agree. Having a person that you enjoy seeing, getting together in person, it creates the environment that you get to create in. The other piece that we've had is, scheduling it before we go, keeping it monthly, and then batching. So when we're sitting down together, we're doing 3, 4, 5 episodes, getting those taken care of and knowing that we're ahead of the curve, if you will.
Yeah, that's huge. Being able to see where we are and getting ahead is key. But I also balance that with not feeling like I need to get ahead with the editing and doing what I like. Editing one podcast a week and putting it out there helps me not feel overwhelmed with that task as well.
We're also not creating podcasts in a place from urgency because we have to get this out. I mean, there's probably a couple that we were cutting it close, but for the most part, because we give ourselves time, we're able to create and get ahead.
But I use a little bit of that urgency in my editing.
Yeah, it was having a process, having a system, right?
Yeah,
that we work within.
Yeah, and figuring out one of the things, this is going to sound probably not shocking as to ADHD entrepreneurs, is we don't plan.
Yes.
And kind of with a period. So we have a spreadsheet, shocker, where we jot down ideas of episodes that we want to record, and then we pull from that long list of just podcast subject, like overarching subjects, and then we go really off the cuff, so we don't put a lot of pressure on ourselves to have to do some research or tasks that we might feel are boring. And that's why sometimes I might mention, or we might mention some statistics or but they're very vague and we're very non-committal to them because of our complete lack of spending time weeding through the internet to find things. So, and because we do have interest in money and ADHD, we will get a lot of that come up in our social media, and we will come across a lot of that. So it sticks in not a super specific way in our brain. So we know the things, we just don't know exactly what the statistics are. So we will share some of that, but no hard and true facts that we've spent a lot of time researching.
But I think, so going back a little bit, part of having the idea pool that we created when we were in a creative space allows us to show up and pick what aligns, or bring an idea that we had because we're like, oh, this just happened with a client meeting. I want to talk about this. Let's share this. So it gives us, it's loose planning because we did plan some ideas, but we're flexible and we're fluid. We're not rigid.
And we're very good about talking off the cuff and being able to speak without needing to do all that research and helping you understand what we're, like the point we're trying to get across and the information we're trying to share with you. So another thing that the accountability part comes from having a co-host, having that time scheduled. But in my mind, there is also accountability to you, the listener, that we have set the expectation that there will be a new podcast every Thursday. And my head thinks, well, I can't let all of our listeners down. We appreciate you guys so much. And I know deep down that the chances of one of us getting a message saying, what the fuck, it's Thursday, there's no new podcast episode, is pretty limited. But in my mind, that's enough to help keep things moving forward. Fake accountability, maybe. Or maybe send us a message and tell us you would be really gutted if there was a Thursday you couldn't listen to a new episode. We'd love to hear that.
We love that. We love one-sided accountability. So how can you take what we're sharing and use it in your life, whether it's for a project or for business or for life? Part of it that I see too is that we broke it down into small pieces, and we didn't start perfectly. We started and we learned, and we invested in different microphones. We invested in different technology. We just started.
We started way before we were quote unquote ready. We had this conversation with a client a couple of weeks ago about they were expressing some interest in starting a podcast and were asking about equipment. And we started, if you go back to the earlier episodes, the sound quality wasn't good. We had a couple episodes there where the video quality was complete shit. But we started with lapel mics. We got a set of 2 from Amazon for I think $50 or $60 and clipped them onto our shirts or sweaters, and away we went. We did invest right from the hop on a software that helps us record and edit, which is I think $19 US a month. So now that's like 47 Canadian. Thank you, Canadian dollar. But that's the one thing that has been an investment from the start, which is pretty low from an investment standpoint.
It was so pretty minimal, right? And then we did the chairs, the backdrop. Like we've made changes, but so in implementing this for yourself as the listener, it doesn't have to be perfect to start. It does not have to be perfect. And it gets easier as you do it.
And one of the things too, when it comes to starting anything, we build this expectation up in our head with what we have to do or who we have to be before we start something. And I hear this a lot from clients around social media that they don't think they're ready to do something. But when you start something, when you start a podcast, when you start a social media account, the reality is that very few people are watching. So just think about when you put yourself out there, you're not putting yourself out there to an audience of hundreds or thousands or tens of thousands. If you start a Facebook group, for example, and you have 5 people in the group and you go live, which is something you're really scared about, only 5 people have the potential to see that. And out of those 5, what is the chances that any of them are actually going to be there? So just think about how you can put yourself out there in a way that's a little less scary, because some people on the internet can be assholes. We've seen a very small amount of that, but generally the people that are being the assholes, Val and I were just talking about this, is generally on YouTube where the assholes come out and say some not so very nice things. And whenever I go to creep their accounts, because of course I do, they never have any videos. They're not putting themselves out there. So the haters generally have never put themselves in the shoes of putting themselves out there in any way, shape, or form, and they just feel brave.
Haters gonna hate.
Haters gonna hate, if you get those people, it's your account, it's your business. You can just block them, and then they can never see your content again, and they can never comment again. So being able to find what works for you as far as consistency when you're looking to start something like this, having a partner, I think, has been the key thing, being able to
wholeheartedly would agree.
Yeah, because doing it by yourself, not only is like the recording
different,
I think would be challenging if I was just sitting here talking to my computer once a week or whatever that looked like. But I think that would be really hard to continually put new content out there, because you can only have conversations with people that aren't listening so many times. So having a partner and having guests on really helps to keep it fresh and easy and fun.
And the energy aspect, right? There's days that I've shown up at not my best, but we help lift each other up. So having that partner is huge. Accountability as well. And I want to say those are our big pieces. Those are our big takeaways of being on episode 52. This is how we've stayed consistent and what's worked for us. There it is.
And investing in new equipment too makes it fun. If you've been here for the whole journey, you heard our fun little toy here that makes sounds and these new microphones. They kept it fun, and learning about new equipment is something that I enjoy. Being able to figure out which was best and which worked for us and putting it in place and setting it up. It's been a lot of fun. So
yeah.
Thank you, girl. Love you. Thanks for being on this journey with me. And thank you guys for being here as listeners. We really appreciate your support. And if you're starting something and you really want it to be something that you are consistent with, think about what things you can do to set yourself up for success. And a big one is having an accountability buddy. So even if you are starting a podcast and it's going to be solo, how can you create some accountability with that? Maybe you connect with another solo podcaster who has similar goals, and you do co-working sessions where you're editing, where somebody's there and they're able to either be there in person or even virtually to provide that support, because ADHD brains can get a lot done when it comes to co-working and body doubling, because that allows you to have that support to keep you focused on a task you might not like. Because editing isn't a lot of fun, but it's easy when you have support and also good software. So just like shameless plug, we use a software called Riverside, and it makes editing very easy and is pretty affordable. And it allows me to edit by just removing the words in the transcript versus having to try and cut and paste in the video, which is pretty handy. And they're continually developing and tweaking the tools, and it's really been helpful.
Thanks for listening to episode 52, and we will see you for episode 53.